Hey there, what's up? Andrei here from PSD Box. I hope you guys are not too mad at me for not publishing as many tutorials lately, but well, I'm back with another manipulation tutorial, and I think it's a really cool tutorial, and I hope it will pay off for the time you've been waiting for a new tutorial. And well, this tutorial is a bit more advanced. As I always say, I always use the same techniques, more or less. We got a few more details here and a few lighting effects and stuff that we need to take care of. And I hope you can follow me through this tutorial. And I want to show you the original image. It's this one. Actually, when I saw this image, I knew I would make something like this. Some manipulation like this, but I didn't know exactly how I would do it. This is the end result that I got. I wanted to make something a bit more desaturated with less colors, but I don't know. I wanted to change a bit because my latest tutorials are all desaturated, and I wanted to change a bit the style. So that's why I went for this colorful result. So on my website, you will have all the resources that I used on this tutorial, including the stock images from deposit photos, but as always on a smaller resolution. So you'll have the sky and the background, which are the main images used. And the model is from DeviantArt. I'll give you also a link to the girl, to the author. She has a YouTube account if you wanna follow her. She's really nice if you wanna see how she takes photos and stuff like that. And that's all for now. Let's get started. Okay, as usually, we start with the background. So what I will do is go to my stock folder, which is this one. And these are all the images. I think these are all images that I used. And as I said, this background image is from deposit photos, so I'll open it with Photoshop CS6. By the way, you can follow this tutorial in Photoshop CS5 and 4. Maybe some techniques are a bit different, but you can follow this in previous versions of Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop CS6. Okay, one thing that I didn't really like of this background image was the sky. I mean, I like this perspective and everything. This was shot with a wide angle lens. That's why you can see this is a bit distorted, but I like that. But I didn't like the sky. I wanted to have something a bit more clouds and stuff like that, and a sunset on the background. So I went and I masked this. So I will create a layer mask for this. You can mask this on, you can use several methods, depending on whether you want to keep these plants here or not. If you don't want to keep the plants here, you can use the pen tool and just crop this part and then use, for example, another stock image to cover this, because you will, actually, let me do it like that because it's a bit quicker and I want to show you how you do that. I'll use the quick selection tool and I'll select the sky like that. And like that. And of course we need to refine the edge of this. So let's see if we need to expand or contract the selection a bit. We need to, yeah, I'll leave it like that and click OK. Oops, I had to mask that, so I'll do it again. Refine edge. I think I have to actually expand the selection and increase the contrast and set this to layer mask and click OK. Okay, now the mask is inverted, so I'll press Ctrl-Command-I, and the edges are a bit too smooth, so I'll probably refine the mask again by right-clicking on it, and I'll increase the contrast only. I will not touch the other settings here because the contrast controls the sharpness of the edge. If you take a look here, let me set this to on white, maybe, black and white, you'll see it better. If I increase the contrast, you'll see how this becomes sharper, okay? You don't want to have it too sharp, but just a bit, and click OK. And this is our masked background, but as I said, you'll see this plants here are cropped now. and also here. These ones are not that visible, and we will put the tree here, so we will cover that, but it's a bit more visible here, it's a bit more obvious. So you can cover this with another stock image if you have. I think I already opened one a moment ago. Yeah, this one. I actually used this on another tutorial, on a sunset tutorial. You will see an image popping on a screen. If you want to see that tutorial, you can click on the image and it will take you to my website, straight to that tutorial. Let me get the lasso tool and get this part of the bush. Control D to deselect and do it again. Control C. On my website I'll put a link to this bush if you want to use it. I don't know if it will work because I never tried it, but I think it will work. Make it just a bit bigger, like smaller, like that. And we need to mask this, but the way you mask things like this on grass, it's really easy. All you need to do is create a layer mask, get the brush tool, and on the default brushes that Photoshop comes with, you can select this grass brush, and then open the brushes window, and the only thing you have to do here is to uncheck color dynamics, because it will mess up the colors. And now you just do mask, paint on the layer mask with black, and you can see how nicely it masks that and you don't even notice. And if you want to match the colors of this, you select the layer itself, press Ctrl Command U, and play with the hue saturation, because you can see these ones are a bit darker. This one is a brighter tone of green, and maybe you need to decrease the lightness a bit, not too much, do not touch the lightness too much, and maybe change a bit the hue, like that, and click OK. And you'll see it's a bit different from this to this. It blends a bit better with the surrounding there, and that's how you can hide that cut part there. I'll leave it like that, not to, because I don't want to mess too much with this. Another way, if you want to keep these plants, you can use let me duplicate this and show you the way I did it. Well, actually I'll refill this with white, like that, and select this. And I think I used calculations. Let me go to the channels first and select the blue, because the blue channel is what gives me most contrast between the background and this plant here. And I'll choose, well, I'll actually go to edit, image, calculations, and from here you can see you can choose to blend channels, channel 1 and channel 2. Well, and in this case, from the channel list, I'll select, well, I'll leave the blue and leave the blue as well. And from here you can invert things and try different combinations and different blend modes. Let's try the blue again. Well, see that with the blue, I'm not worried about this part here, only the plants here, because this is my biggest concern now. So I have this on subtract, set the channel to blue and blue, and check the top invert, because if I do that on the bottom one, I get the inverted mask, which is not a big problem, but I want to have it like that. You can also try add, and then try different channels here, like for example red. But well, seems like subtract worked well. And on the green channel, I prefer the blue one. Okay, and once you have this, what you can do is press Ctrl Command L to increase the contrast even more, and then use the brush tool. Press the B key to select the brush. I'm going a bit quick, so that's why I said this is a bit more advanced. But anyways, if you find this technique too difficult to use, just use what I just showed you before. So what you do here, the objective is to have the sky white and the rest of the background black. So I achieved my objective, which was to have this completely black and the background white. And now I have to take care of the rest, but this is really easy. Just get a brush, increase the size, and paint this with black, because this will be our layer mask. Okay, paint this with black like that. Let me uncheck this. like so. When you get to the edges, which is the big problem, what you do is go here on top with the brush selected, go to the top part here and change the blend mode of the brush to overlay. And we are still painting with black, so I can paint like that without worrying too much of the background. But you will see the sky here, we have some gray, so if you paint with black, they will become darker. So what I will do is switch the color to white and paint with white. I'll decrease the hardness just in case. And you can see that even if I'm painting over these plants, it will not change because they are completely black. And because of the blend mode, the overlay blend mode, we are not affecting, even if I'm painting here with black here, because this is white. But if you paint on a gray area like this, you'll see it becomes darker. So I hope it's not too difficult to understand, but you need to try this for yourself just to understand how it works. And like that, and let's do the same here around the edges of this stone here. Then switch to black, like so. And you need to make some touch-ups, switching back to the normal blend mode, because here, even if I paint with black here, nothing happens because these spots are completely white. But I'll increase the hardness of the brush because I don't want to worry too much about the soft edges. And paint like that. I think I already have another tutorial about how to use calculations. Just if you're on my website, just search for calculations, or if you're on YouTube, on my channel, use the search box to search on my uploaded videos and search for calculations, and you should find it. Okay, so now I have this masked. All I need to do now to use this as a layer mask is press the Control or Command key on the keyboard and click on the thumbnail of the channel, and it will select everything that is black. Go back to the Layers tab, and now I have this layer mask already created. If you don't have it, no problem, just click the layer mask icon. And since I already have it created, I only have to fill this with black. See that? And of course it's inverted, so I have to press Control Command I to invert the layer mask, and this is how it looks. We have all the plants there. And well, since the original is like this, I will use this version instead of using this one. So I'll delete the bush, but you can follow this tutorial even if you have that bush there, so don't worry about that. Let's name this BG for background, and let's close this image and open our background, our sky, sorry, which is this one. This is another image from Deposit Photos, so let's open this with Photoshop. So this is my image. Control Command A, Control Command C, Control Command W to copy our image on the clipboard and paste it here with Control Command V. And you can see it's a bit smaller, actually, because the background is huge. It's 5,000, almost 6,000 pixels. But anyways, I'll use these dimensions. The PSD file that you will download, if you're a premium member, you can download the PSD file of this tutorial. It will be smaller because it makes no sense for me to publish a 500 megabytes file, so I'll upload a smaller resolution, about 2000 pixels, just in case you want to see the layers and everything. Okay, so I'll put it there. I want to hide that part of the boat, of this boat there. You can use a clone stamp if you want. Actually, I should have used that on the original as well to hide this part there, like so. And now drag it down, like so, and make sure we have the sunset there. Okay, this is our sky layer. Have the background while it's ready. We don't need to make anything else here. If you want to take care of the edges, you can do it, but looks like they look good to me. Of course, the plants here, we have these nasty edges, but we will take care of those a bit later on when we will add the light effects. But let's take care about remove this iron things. But well, let's clean this up a bit. I want to remove these things here. So what I will do is create a new layer as a clipping mask, and I'll name this iron mask, because I want to get rid of this iron things here. You can use the clone stamp tool. Actually, I want to try and use the healing brush, because with this I can use the current and below option or all layers. Let's use current and below, and I will work non-destructively. And what I will do, well, I will try to see if it works, is I will sample from here by pressing the Alt key and painting over the, oops, do it again, sample, paint over it, and let go. Yeah, it works perfectly. And let's do the same here, sample from its left, paint over it, and it will adjust the contrast as well. That's why I really like this tool. Let's sample from here again, paint on top of that, and that's it. Okay, perfect. We removed those. Something is wrong here. I don't know what I did. Maybe I linked these two layers for some reason or something. Oh, okay. I don't know what happened. I was deactivating this layer, and the sky layer was disappearing. Anyways, we have the background ready. Let's add our model now. Let's go back to our stock folder. Open with Photoshop CS6. Okay, so this is the model that I used. I used a lot of images on my tutorials from this author. As I said, she has a YouTube channel. I'll put a link on the video so you can check her channel if you want to know more about her, and also to her DeviantArt account. She has tons of photos, and really good photos, for models, background, and everything. Well, models is mainly, she's the model, but anyways. So this is what I will do. I will use the let's see, maybe I will use the quick selection tool for this. Let's see how it works. I think I used the pen tool, but anyways, I will use the quick selection tool to make it quicker. You can use any method that you want for this. Usually use the pen tool because it's the most accurate tool for me, in my opinion. And my neighbors just arrived home, if you can hear their kids screaming on a hallway. Well, oops, let's include this area on the selection. Maybe we will need to make some touch-ups because the background and her jeans are really similar in color here, and I cannot do it with the quick selection tool. Yeah, that's okay. Let's fix this area here as well. And let's include this area as well. I will keep the original shadows that you see here on the wall, and I'll show you the technique to do that. It's really easy. You can try to paint them, but it's always better to use natural shadows whenever you can. Okay, and I'll try to exclude this part from the selection, even though it's not really a big problem if you leave that, because we will use two layers, and you'll see how it works. And remove that. I'll probably end up making the canvas a bit smaller because my computer is starting to slow down, because I'm also recording at 1080p, and that's too much for my computer. Okay, this is my image. I'll click the layer mask icon to get rid of everything, and of course I'll have to refine the edge. I'm not worried about the hair, only about this edges here. So what I will do is right click on the layer mask and choose refine mask. If you use previous versions of Photoshop, I think this command is not available, but what you can do is press Control Command and click on the layer mask to select the edges, and then select, for example, any marquee tool and click this Refine Edge button. But in Photoshop CS6 you can right click on the layer mask and choose Refine Edge right away. I'll deactivate and choose Refine Mask. Okay, so what I will do here is shift the edge a bit. I always do the same, increase the feather to make the edges a bit smoother, and then increase the contrast. Maybe I'll shift the edge a bit more. Maybe increase the smoothness, not too much. What the smoothness does is, for example, where you have this sort of corners or sharp angles, it will make them smoother. Check that out. See that? If I increase this even more, you can see how they become. Okay, see that? Smoother. That's why it's called smooth. Okay, I'll click OK, and it will update my layer mask, and I hope it's okay. I did a really quick job here because I'm not, as I said, I'm not really the purpose of this tutorial is not to show you how to extract models from the background, and the tutorial, I think it will be quite long, so I don't want to spend too much time on this, on these things. Okay, I have the model here. I'll make it smaller. I'll make her smaller a bit. Put her here, and I'll probably make this a smart object. Convert this. Well, first I want to duplicate it because I need another copy of it. So first I duplicate it. Well, no, let's make it smaller, and I will not use smart objects this time. Let's see how big I want her to be. About this big. And press enter to accept the change. And now I want her, this part of her hand, of the fingers, to touch the stone there, this stone here. And I think it's okay how it is now. And now what I will do is duplicate the layer by pressing Alt and clicking and dragging. Let's name this Shadows. And let's name this one Woman. Oops. Like that. Okay, now for the Shadows layer, I will delete the layer mask and I will not apply it, and you will see the original layer. And now I will select both of them and link them just in case. I want them to be on top of each other. And I will change the blend mode of the bottom layer of the Shadows layer to multiply, and you'll see what happens. It kind of becomes semi-transparent, but that's okay, no problem with that. I'll reactivate the top layer, and now I will create a layer mask for the Shadows layer. But before I do anything on the layer mask, I want to change a bit, because you can see the edges here. I want this to become invisible, so the way I do that is using levels, because the background here is white. So what I want is, but it's not perfectly white. You can even see that here on the histogram, if you know a bit how to interpret, how to judge a histogram. And you can see these are all the whites, but these are not completely white because maybe the photo is not correctly exposed or whatever. So what I will do is move this slider to the left, and you can see how it starts to become invisible. I don't want to get them completely invisible because it will affect the soft part of the shadows. If you can see that, they become sharper. So I just want to make them slightly, almost invisible, like that, without affecting the shadows. And now I will select this layer mask that I just created, select the brush tool, and with the black color and a soft brush, you need to use a soft brush, paint with black on this layer mask to make sure you get rid of the bottom part, you get rid of this edges, and get close to her body, like that. And also delete this part of the shadow that is curved, like that. We will need to paint the shadow again there. Okay. And with the big brush, I will slightly remove this top shadow, but not completely. And let's keep brushing here. Now I'll select the top one, the top layer, and you can see parts of the top layer still remain here. So what I will do is use a smaller brush, again a soft brush, and paint on the edges like that to get rid of those white areas. You don't need precision here, but well, just a bit of take care of the edges, but not on a pixel level. Okay, just like that. And here on the hair as well, remove this part here, and you can see how we have the hair exactly how it is without losing any kind of details. And we didn't use mask. See those hairs there, we have them all there without worrying too much about making complex masking there. Okay, so now we have the woman in place. I think everything is ready. Let's see on the bottom here. Okay, perfect. Let's create now a new layer below these two layers, and we will name this woman painted shadow. I'll get the brush tool, use a soft brush, and switch the color, the foreground color, to black, because we need to paint the brushes with the shadows with black. And now I'll decrease the opacity to about 12 and the flow as well to about 20, something like that. And I'll use a bigger brush, and I just want to paint a bit of a shadow right here. That's it. Not see that? Just the shadow of her standing there, because it was curved because of the layer. Well, because of the, see that, of the studio paper there, and I didn't like that. Great, we have the model, we have the shadows. I see something here, I don't know if this is... Yeah, this is another shadow, I need to take care of that. On the bottom layer, on the shadows layer, I see this dark part. I want to get rid of that. Okay, that's better. Okay. The next step is to add the tree there on the left side. The reason why I added the tree is because, well, the composition was like too empty, too open here, and I want to kind of frame this woman here. So I added that tree there to, I don't know, enclose a bit the main subject here. So I will go back to my stock folder and open the tree image. Well, I don't have it here, so I'll have to look for it on my other stock folder. I have this folder where I save all the images that I download from the internet, and I keep the names and everything so I can track them and link back to the authors of the stock images. But this one is on the deposit photos stock folder, so let me see where's that tree that I used. Where are you? Here it is. We'll use the original one, the original size, because it's better for masking. And every time I mask this tree, I use the magic wand tool. Make sure you uncheck contiguous and just click on a white space, and that's it. And click the layer mask icon. And now Control Command I to invert it. We will have some edges, some white edges, but no problem. We will get rid of those, but first I want to close things that I don't need. And with the move tool, I'll click here on the canvas and drag this to the other document right here. And I'll name this tree, and I'll flip it horizontally. The reason why I flip it horizontally is because, well, it seems more natural to me. It draws attention to the one, because if it is like that, it kind of goes to the left side, and I don't want that. I want to keep the attention. I want to draw the attention. Well, looks like it's now leaning towards the woman. And I'll place it right there, and I'll use this layer mask that I already have to mask this. And I'll use the same masking technique that I used with that bush that I showed you at the beginning of the tutorial. So I'll get the brush tool by pressing the B key or from the tools panel, and set the foreground color to black, and the brush that I use is this one, the same brush as before, but I will increase the size just a bit. And now I will open the brush window again, uncheck color dynamics, sorry. If you're using a pen, also uncheck the transfer option. Looks like my neighbors. I don't know what they're doing, but and just paint with this brush. Maybe I want to make it bigger just a bit and get rid of those edges there and see how nice. Oops, it's too big. How nicely you can blend that on those bushes, and looks like the tree was not even there. Then make sure with another brush that you see no edges here from the previous from the background. Okay, and as I was saying, we have this white edges around, and if you have a really high resolution image, you can make a selection by control clicking on the layer mask, and that will select the edges, well, the contour of this tree, and you can contract the selection by 1 pixel or 2 and delete. But we have really fine detail here, and if I do that, I will get rid of those, and I don't want to do that. So what I will do instead is double click on the layer to open the layer styles, and I will use inner shadow, set the distance to 0, and you can see how you cover, because the inner shadow, what it does is it takes the edges of the object and it adds some shadow on those edges. That's why I set the distance to 0, because I want the shadow to go equally from all sides, and that way the global light has no effect, so it doesn't really matter what angle you put here if you have the distance to 0. I'll leave the blend mode to multiply, and I'll change the color. I'll use a green color to match a bit the tree, to match a bit those trees, the color of the leaves. And maybe let's see, we remove most of it but not entirely, so well, actually we are covering these white areas, so maybe you can try using a bigger distance, a bigger size, sorry, or maybe try the choke option. Well, it looks nice. Or maybe try a bit of a darker tone. Yeah, this one looks nice to me. That's too bright. Try to match the saturation and color tone of the leaves, more or less, and click OK. Let's see. The opacity at 100% is too much, so I'll leave it to 70 or something like that, and click OK. And let me show you how it looks. Well, if you see from a lower zoom level, you'll see it a bit better. See that before and after. Okay, so we fixed that problem, and our tree is ready. Well, we will need to add some light effects on it from the sun that we will add there, but we will do that a bit later. Let's add more elements. And I'll go back to my stock folder, go back right here, and open the sword image, also from deposit photos, and this is the stock image. Let's choose the magic wand again, but this time I'll activate contiguous, because some parts of the sword have this highlights here, and if you don't activate this, watch what happens. It will select those parts as well, and I don't want to do that. So what you do with the contiguous is make sure you only select areas that are contiguous, that are close to each other. So here, this part here is not selected now because we have this edge that surrounds this area, so to say. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm sure you understand it. I just want to make sure I fix the area there, and this one as well. You can use the pen tool if you really want to have a perfect selection, or the quick selection tool also works well. And now I will refine the edge. First I'll create the layer mask, because it always comes inverted when you select the background. Control Command I, and I'll refine the mask, and I'll actually leave it on black and white because you can see how ugly these edges are. So I'll shift the edge a bit, just as before, increase feather, and then increase the contrast, and even more. Okay, now I'll switch to on white, see how it looks. Looks good. I didn't lose too much detail. And on black looks good as well. If you want to get rid of this white line here, this white edge, you can shift the edge even more, but you will start to lose more more detail on the edges. So that depends on what you're looking for. And well, leave layer mask selected here and click OK. And I will apply the layer mask right away, because if you don't do that, let me show you. I'll drag this to my document here. You can see the size of the document is 356 megabytes. And if I apply the layer mask, you can see how it drops 10 megabytes. So this is another way of having smaller size files on Photoshop, but well, it depends on if you want to work non-destructively. In this case, this is a simple object. I know I will not remask it or anything like that. That's why I applied it. But on the woman, I will not do that, because maybe, I don't know, I want to do something in the future, or who knows, and I want to have the mask there. Now the size of the sword, it's up to you. What I do is I put it close to her hand here, and I try to more or less visualize how big this should be compared to her hand. And I think this should be the size, the correct size. Also, well, it's a bit too big if you compare it to her body, to her leg here. So I will probably leave it like this and press enter. You can use smart objects if you want to change the size later on, but I think this will be okay for now. I'll press Ctrl Command T to load the free transform, but my hard drive is working, and okay, and just rotate it slightly, not too much, like that. Put it right here, and then, well, name this sword first and create the layer mask for it. Get the brush tool and mask the bottom part like that, and drag it a bit lower, like so. Well, I want to keep this part, I don't want to have it like that, because it's hard to distinguish this from the background. It's kind of similar in color, so I want to keep it higher up a bit here, to have the background, to have the sky as the background of this. And for the bottom part, for the really bottom part here, I'll use the same technique as before, using the grass brush. Deactivate color dynamics, use a smaller brush this time, of course, and mask like that, and that way it's a bit more realistic than just having a straight line. Okay, now we have the sword here. Let's add that ribbon there. Don't save and don't save. And I used these 3 images, this one, and then the knot, I used this one. So I will first open these two images, and I'll use the magic wand to select the background. Let's see the path. Oh. Okay, I'll select the background, create the layer mask, Control Command I to invert it, and now refine edge, refine mask. Shift the edge a bit, increase feather, and increase contrast, and shift edge even more. I want to take a look at it at 100%. See that? Perfect edges. Let me show you original and after refine edge. We have perfect edges now. Click OK, and I'll apply the layer mask. And I'll move this to my other document right here. And I'll turn this into a smart object. And then this ribbon. And I'll name this 1. Okay. And I'll make it smaller. Okay. Like that. And now I'll get the other one, which is this one. This will be the smaller part. And do the same. Create a layer mask, invert. And now refine mask. Shift the edge. About 35%, increase feather, and increase contrast, like that, and click OK. So you can see it's really easy when you have a plain white background. There's no mystery to how you mask that. Okay, so this will be the smaller one, and I'll name this ribbon 2. Make it smaller. Something like that. And this will go below, under the sword layer, okay? And I'll create the layer mask for it because I want to get rid of this small part right here. Okay, now let's open the other photo, which is this one, the third one. And I will only use this part here, okay? So I'll get the pen tool to mask that. Make sure you have the path selected, not the shape. And that way you create this sort of lines. These are called paths, but for those who don't know it, but you should know what a path is. Okay, I wanna make sure I have this perfectly traced. Like that. Wow, I like how it looks. I will leave it like that. Now I will right click and choose make selection. Click OK, accept the settings, the default settings. And now I'll press the layer mask icon and apply the layer mask. This is my knot here, and I will move it to my other document and leave it right there. Of course, I want to have it on top of the ribbon and the shadow and the sword layer. And name this knot, and I'll make it smaller. Rotate it, and I think I will flip it vertically. See how that looks. Yeah, I think it looks better that way. And put it right here. And of course I have to make it smaller, but before I do that, I want to convert this into smart object. This is sort of like a safety for me. That's why I convert into smart object most of the times, because in case I want to modify this later, that way I preserve the quality of the original image. Okay, now I have that there, and I'll put this right here, and well, actually the ribbon one I'll have to put it on top and use a layer mask to blend this edge here. And what we also need to do is to blend the colors, but because you can see they're not matching. This one is darker and this one is a brighter tone of red. So I'll show you how I did that. I actually discovered it by accident, but it worked for this photo. Most of the times that technique does not work. The technique is the following: just select the ribbon, just select this layer, this flying thing here, and go to image. And it's not working because I have this as a smart object, I guess. Let me try with this layer. Yep. We have to rasterize this. It's not working on smart objects. So first I want to rasterize the layer. Rasterize layer. And now, once you have the layer here, go to image and choose auto tone. And that's it. That's how you match the colors. If it's too strong, if the effect is too strong, go to edit and choose fade auto tone and decrease the opacity to about, let's say, 90% or something like that. Okay, and now it looks a lot more like this knot, the tones and everything. I think I want to move it a bit, not too much, like that, and maybe retouch a bit this layer mask, like that, and now it looks perfect. And do the same with the bottom one, ribbon 2. If you press Ctrl Command F, it will apply the, well, it's not working. That's only for filters. Go to image and choose auto tone again, and this one looks okay to me. I'll probably rotate it just to see how it looks. Yeah, I want to make it a bit smaller also. Yeah, and I'll leave it there. See that? It looks perfect now. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is, well, let's add all the elements. Let's add that keyhole here and the text and make some shadows, and then we will see what else we will add here. The first thing I want to do is add that keyhole there. So I will go back to my stock folder, which is this, and I use this stock image. So as you can see, so far is the same thing over and over again, just copy out things and putting them together, and that's it. And then we will add some effects. I will use the polygonal lasso tool because this is a really easy to mask object, so I will not use the pen tool for this. And sorry for the clicks, I'm using the mouse instead of using the tablet, so let's make the change now. Okay, so now I have the select, I'll press Ctrl Command C to copy it. I will not use a layer mask. I'll close these things open here because I don't need them anymore. And I'll paste this on my canvas right here, but I want to paste this on top of the background right here. And I'll move it right there. I'll leave it bigger like this. I think on the original I have it a bit smaller, but yeah, it's small, but I want to have it bigger here. Actually, what you put here is just up to you. You can put, I don't know, any text that you want, or I don't know, some sculptures or whatever you want. The reason why I added this is because I actually ran out of inspiration. I didn't know what to add. And it's kind of similar to another tutorial that I made. I don't remember the name now, but you will see an image popping on the screen right now. This is another tutorial that I made, and I added a sort of a similar concept, but I had no models there. So if you want to see this tutorial, you can click on the image that you see here on the video, and it will take you to my website, and there you'll find the stock images and everything you need to follow that tutorial. Let's come back to this one and follow here and move on. Oh, I'm a bit tired. Well, let's use the Conceptual because I want to get rid of that, of this part here. So I'll use a harder brush and smaller brushes. Well, actually you can use the brush tool, just paint with the sample the color from here with the Alt key and paint over that part there. If you want some ideas, maybe you can make some light coming out of there with some rays or something. I don't know, it's just up to you. I think it would be a bit more realistic if we took out this nails here, but or if you change them with screws or something, because, well, I don't know how this thing could be nailed here on this rock, but anyways, let's leave it like it is. What I will do though is add some drop shadow just a bit. The global light, I'll set it like that because the light will come from there, but it's not really important here because we will decrease the distance quite a lot and increase the size a bit. Well, the size was okay, let's leave it to 8. Okay, and well, and the distance I'll set it to 3 and leave the opacity how it was. Just a bit of shadow makes things a bit different. See that? It looks flat and now it looks awesome. At least in my opinion. You know that you can do whatever you want. I'm just showing you how I do things. You can do whatever you want. You're free to do it. What I do here is just the way I do things, but if I give you other ideas, if you can try different things to see how they look. Okay, I'll get the lasso tool and open this blood stock image and copy this part here and paste that below the keyhole layer. So I'll create a new layer by pressing and holding the Control key and clicking on this new layer icon, and that way the layer is created below the layer that you selected. So I'll name this blood and press Control Command V to paste it. Before making it smaller, I want to change a few things. The first thing is the blend mode. I'll set this to multiply because, well, this background was supposed to be white, but well, this was not correctly exposed, and well, this is not a professional photographer, but there's no problem. I'm thankful for having this stock image. Now I'll press Ctrl Command L, just as before, and see this gap here. This means we need to increase the highlights. And usually when you get to the slider, when the slider gets here, the background disappears because then it's completely white. You'll see that. See that? And move the slider until you get here. And if you want to make the blood a bit brighter, you can move the midtones a bit. And don't mess with the output levels because it will not look right. And now make it smaller. Something like that, and move it right there. The blood is still not looking right to me. So I will try to use the hue saturation. So I'll press Control Command U to open the hue saturation. As you can see on small objects like this, I don't use adjustment layers because these are really not important things. That's why I don't use adjustment layers. So I use the adjustments straight on the image. In other words, working destructively. Okay, so let's see how we can make this blood a bit brighter. I'm increasing the lightness. If you decrease the lightness, those edges will reappear, so make sure you don't decrease the lightness. But you can increase it though. And then I'll increase the saturation, but it's still not looking right. So what I will do is reset this. If you press the Alt key, the cancel turns into a reset and you can go back to 0. I'll probably check colorize and increase the saturation and change the color a bit, like so. Lightness. Now it starts to look how I want. Okay. And if you're wondering why that background is not changing in color, is because it was white. And even when you change this to colorize, it will not change color. But if you change it to negative values, it will, because well, it's a darker tone and you change the color of it. But if it's white, you can change to whatever color you want. It will only change this ones, not the white background. Okay, let's not increase the lightness too much. Something like that. Increase saturation. Okay, so I think it looks a bit better than this. Well, it depends on what you like. Okay, I'll click OK, and that's my blood there. Also want to make this keyhole a bit darker, so I'll press Ctrl Command L to open the levels and make the midtones a bit darker. And with the hue saturation, I'll desaturate a bit, so it looks a bit older. Okay, that's that, and let's add the text here. Actually, I'll copy the exact one that I have here because I don't remember the font that I used. I know it's a free font, but I don't remember the font, and also because I don't want to type this. I don't remember. Well, I don't want to. I will copy it right away. Move it right here. The text here means, just in case you, it's Latin, and it means time waits for no one. I just copied it from the internet. I don't know Latin, but as I said, you can type wherever you want. And let me show you first the font that I used. It's called, double click. It's called JF Rock Solid. So this is the font. You can type it, searching on the internet. As I said, I'll give you a link to where I downloaded it from. It's free. And then I used a few styles here to have this sort of look. Actually, you can use any font. It looks nice anyways. The effects that I used, first, make sure you set the fill to 0 because I have a color here, but make sure you have the fill to 0 and then open the layer styles. And I added a stroke of 2 pixels. See that, to kind of emphasize a bit the edges. Okay, and then I added some inner shadow. See the shadow right there? Let me zoom in. That's the shadow. Just 3 pixels and size 2. I wanted to have sort of a hard shadow. Inner glow. Also, it works as a shadow, not as a glow. You can see a soft shadow on the bottom part. So I'm using it as a second shadow. Then color overlay to add a gray, and I set the multiply because I wanted to have this darker than the stone itself. I didn't want need to have it like this because it's not visible. So set this to multiply and then choose a shade of gray that you want. If you choose really dark tones, it will become black, so we don't want that. A light shade of gray, because with the multiply you amplify the effect. And then I used the pattern overlay just to have a bit more of texture, and I used this texture here. If you click this small icon, you'll get a list, and I think I chose rock patterns. Yep, I think it's rock patterns. Yeah, and I used this one. You can use any texture here, but I wanted to use this one. Looks a lot better actually. Well, I really like it. It looks a lot more realistic, and I actually increase the opacity and decrease the color overlay. Actually, I'll use a brighter tone of gray. Yeah, it looks a lot better than the previous. So this texture looks great. Okay, so that's how I created the text here. Okay, let's move on now. Now comes a bit, well, before starting the tricky part, well, the time-consuming part, let's make the shadows. For the woman, we already have the shadow, so we don't need to do anything there, but we need to paint the shadow for the sword. So I'll locate that and press control and click this new layer icon and name this sword shadow. Get the brush tool, make sure the foreground color is set to black by pressing the D key on your keyboard. Opacity, let's say 20, and flow as well. And I said on my previous tutorial how you can set the opacity and the flow right from the keyboard. Once you select the brush, or well, any kind of setting that uses opacity, flow, or things like that, or for example the burn tool has the exposure, you can set these settings here without selecting this or without using this slider. And a quick way to do it is right from the keyboard. And once you select the brush, the only thing you need to do is type, for example, if I want the opacity to be at 10, I just press 10, 1, 0 on the keyboard, and that's it. If you want to use lower numbers than 10, for example, 8%, if you press 8, well, if you press 8, it will type 80, or 7, it will type 70, 6, it will type 60. So if you want like 8%, you have to press 0, 8 instead of pressing 8. So for 20%, I'll press 2. And for the flow, if you want to modify the flow, you have to press the shift key first. So with the shift key pressed, if I type 8, it will type 80% on the flow. And type the number that you want. And in this case, it's 2 for 20. Okay, so I want to paint a soft shadow right here on the ground. I'll use a bigger brush, hardness 0. And just type, make a shadow like that. Well, actually, let's draw it a bit towards here because we will have the light right there on the background. So use a big soft brush like so. I'll decrease the opacity to 10. So I really want a soft shadow like that. Okay, that's the shadow that I have here. Maybe it's not the most realistic shadow in the world, but we have it there. Maybe after we make the effects, we'll look a bit better. Okay, well, we still need to add a few more things. One of them is the helmet, and then the rose, and then we will make all this thing here, which is the most time-consuming part, I think. So I'll go back to my stock folder and open this image is also from Deposit Photos. On DeviantArt, I'm sure you'll find images of helmets. So if you find another one that looks better, this one, well, I could have used a better one, but anyways, this one comes with the path. So premium members that can download the original size of this, just look at the paths here, and if you see it, just press the control key and click on the path, and it will load this because it's already masked. As I said, I already have a tutorial explaining how you can actually embed this path on your JPEG file. So once you draw a path and make a selection, you can save that JPEG file with the mask on it. So the next time you use it, you don't have to do it again. So you'll see an image here appearing that will take you to that tutorial if you click on it. It's really a useful trick there. So I'll apply the layer mask, and drag it to my document right here, and you can see it's really big, so I'll have to make it smaller. How small? Well, I'll take the head of the woman as an example, and I'll make it a bit bigger because we assume this is for machos, which have bigger heads. Okay, let's leave that right there, and let's name this helmet. Well, I'll leave it right there. I don't know if I will probably move it closer to the background layer because I don't know, just for organizing myself a bit better. I can find things a lot easier if I'm looking for the background. I know it's close to the background layer, which is this the background. Okay, let's make the shadow for it as well. I'll move it a bit closer to this rock here, to this stone, and I'll use some inner shadow because I have this highlight here, and I want to hide it a bit because it's close to this rock here, and this rock is supposed to cast some shadow on it. I guess, I don't know. I don't want to have some inner shadow, and instead of using global light, I will deactivate that and change the angle. Just increase the size and the distance a bit and decrease the opacity. See that? I think it looks a bit better, at least in my opinion. You can do whatever you want. And then I'll create a new layer below the helmet layer, and I'll name it helmet shadow. Okay, get the brush tool, opacity 20 and 20, it's okay. Soft brush, black color, blend mode on normal, and this new layer also set on normal. Just paint some shadow like that. Oh, it's too bad. Let's try again. And this time painting on the shadow layer. I don't know what it just did. Let's undo everything because I don't know what I did. I painted on the helmet layer. No. Opacity and flow 10 and 10. I just changed my mind and just paint some really soft shadow, almost invisible. See that? And I want to get rid of the bottom shadow. Like that. I'll move the helmet slightly closer to the stone there. And on the bottom part, on the same layer, I'll use a smaller brush and with a more hardness, 40% maybe, and a bit more opacity and flow. And just paint like that with the bottom part of my brush. Paint some shadow there. For some reason it's not painting as I want to, but anyways, I'll make more passes, or maybe increase the flow to 50%. Just a small shadow there, contact shadow, like so. And then with the bigger brush, and now I'll decrease the opacity and flow to 10%. I'll just make a pass like that. Okay. Let me show you the shadow, how it looks without it and with the shadow. I think it looks a bit better with the shadow, of course. Okay, we have the helmet there. Well, looking at it, I think it's kind of big. I'll select both layers and make them just a bit smaller. Okay, now I think it looks a bit better. Okay, well, actually, let's add that rose there as well. So let's go back to our stock folder and open this image with Photoshop. And let's see if we have the paths here. Nope. Have to mask it. White background, magic wand. I think I never used the magic wand tool as many times as I used it on this tutorial. But anyways, I'll uncheck contiguous because I have this enclosed area which I still want to select. Uncheck contiguous, I said. Okay, that's perfect. Now include these areas by holding the shift key pressed. I want to include this small shadow areas. Oops, but it also selects leaves, which I don't want. So I'll undo. Okay, and I'll use the quick selection tool now and try to include these areas on my selection. Perfect. If you want to add areas to the selection, just press the shift key. And well, actually, if you don't press the shift key, we'll keep adding it because we have the plus selected. Okay, I think we have a good selection on the rows, also on this part here. So what I will do now is create a layer mask, invert it, and refine mask. So it's the same process over and over again. Let's shift the edge a bit, increase the feather, increase the contrast, and I think we're good to go. Layer mask, okay. Apply layer mask. Now move this to our document right here, and you can see it's really big. So of course, first I have to drag it on top of everything, on top of the painted woman shadow as well. And I'll first change the name of this to rows. And I want to shift it, flip it horizontally, flip horizontally and make it smaller. And now I'll turn this into a smart object, just in case. And well, I cannot leave it as big as this because you can see it's almost as big as the helmet, which is not correct. So I'll leave it about this size. Something like that. Let's try the auto tone is not working now. Let's try doing it manually with, I cannot use, I'll rasterize the layer and use auto tone, see how it looks. Good. Repeat. Now it's looking, I want to desaturate it a bit, so I'll press Ctrl-Command-U to desaturate it just a bit. Not too much. Okay, because it was too bright and now we have the rows. Let's try and make the shadow for it. Rows, shadow. Press the B key. This time use a small brush, and you can see this this line here. Again, you can use inner shadow. So open the layer styles, but for the rows, use inner shadow. Decrease distance to 0. And the size in this case to 3, I think it's okay. See how you get rid of that. And the rows looks exactly the same. Yeah, there's no change. And now let's make those shadows that I was talking about. Soft brush, opacity and flow, let's say 30 and 30. And painting with black on this new layer. Hardness, 20%, I think it's okay. Just a few shadows under the leaves here. Like so. This shadows really makes the rose look like it's actually right there on the ground. And for this part, we will use, we will paint the shadow manually there. But I'll probably decrease this to 10 and 10. You can also try drop shadow, but I don't think it will work too nice. Well, I think it looks better now. Let's take a look at from further away. Not looking bad. And with 10% and 10, I'll use a soft brush to make a really soft shadow right there around it. Okay, the shadows really make things look better. Oops, I messed up with my panels here. Okay, great. We are now ready to make that thing here on the woman, this hole here, and make all these petals here. falling on the ground, and then all the light effects and everything. So let's start with that. So in order to do this, I think the best option is to turn this two layers into smart objects. First, make sure you have them linked so they don't move. And I already have the layer masks here, but I don't want to apply them just in case I want to mask something later or something like that. So what I will do is turn this into smart objects, and they will unlink. So I'll have to link them again, but I will do it now. Link layers, and now I'll create another layer mask for both of them. If you cannot create smart objects, you'll have to apply the masks, but well, since I can do it here, I will do that. I will convert into smart objects. And now what I want to do is first select the top layer, which is the woman layer, and I'll get the lasso tool and zoom out a bit, and I want to create a hole in the woman's back here, something random like this, and I will fill this with black, and you will see that looks like nothing happened because now we see the layer that is below. So what you need to do is now copy or keep the selection and then select the bottom layer mask and fill that with black as well, and that way you have a perfect mask. But you can see this edge here, which is from the shadow layer. So what I will do is select the bottom layer, the shadows layer, and I'll increase the opacity and flow and just mask this part here because this is from the bottom layer. I don't need it here. The only reason I wanted to have this bottom layer here, the shadows layer, is here for the hair. Okay, so okay, now we have this ready. Let's mask this part as well. Oops, not too much. I just want to hide this part and maybe this part of the hair as well. Well, let's leave it how it was. And then what I did is I opened one of these images here. I'll start with this one. You can see we have a lot of rose petals here. So what I will do is select one of them and something like this. Well, first I want to delete the background because it will be a lot easier. So I'll select the magic wand tool. I just want to show you how I made this part here. I will not walk you through the whole thing of adding all the petals here because it's too long and I don't want to do that. I just want to show you the process, and then with time you can do it yourself. So the way I deleted the background here, you can see we have the paths, but they're not, I don't know, this path here, I don't know from what images. So what I will do is use the magic wand tool, click on the background to select it, and then create the layer mask. And I'll have to invert it now with Control Command I. And now I'll right click on the layer mask and choose Refine Mask. And the reason why I do this is because I want to get rid of this line here. And I'll do the same as I did with the other images. Shift the edge on negative values, increase feather, and then increase the contrast. Like that. And I'll choose layer mask and click OK. And I'll apply the layer mask right away because I no longer need it. And what I want to do now, this is my personal preference, you can do whatever you want, is copy one of these petals here, press Control Command C to copy it, and then press Control Command N to create a new layer. And the dimensions here are the same dimension that the same dimension as the object that I just copied, and then I press Control Command V to paste it here. And now I'll press Control Command U because I want to convert this into a custom brush, and I decrease the lightness to -100. I only need the shape of it, and then go to Edit and choose Define Brush Preset and accept the change. Click OK. As I said, this is just my personal preference because I want to show you what I will do with this. I'll disable the shadows layer, actually the bottom layer mask. We will have to replace this, but that's why I will disable it for a second. And select the woman layer and its layer mask, and press the B key to select the brush, and here on the bottom you'll see the brush that I just created. I'll decrease the size a bit and go to the brushes window by pressing F5 or clicking this icon. From the window you can also choose it, it's the brush menu item. And I activated shape dynamics because I wanted to have variation in size and then also scattering a bit, and maybe on the shape dynamics also maybe some angle or roundness. Okay, let's see what we get here. And then I painted on this edge because I don't want to have this hard edge here. I wanted to have something like this, but this brush is not. I want to decrease the, let's go on the scattering and decrease the count, and also decrease the scatter amount, but I will increase the spacing. Okay, and now I'll reselect the layer mask, and it's still, the brush is too big I think, so see, I want to create something like this. Also the size is too random, the minimum diameter, and also the size jitter is a bit too high. So let's try again. Now that's a bit better. Do something like this, and we'll fix this, don't worry, it looks very bad, but don't worry. And now I'll invert the color, I'll set the color to white and paint back some of this area like that and get rid of that. Okay, and we got this, and now we need to add those rose petals here, but first I want to choose a normal brush and paint this with white, paint it back in, and also this part here, and just fix some parts. Okay, okay, I think it looks okay. Let's go back to the other image. I'll close this. Now we have all these petals here. Some of them are repeated. For example, you can see this one is the same. Oh, they're just duplicated. So all you need to do is copy one of them, press Ctrl Command C, go back here, and I would create a new, well actually you need to create a couple of groups because we will place some of this behind her and some of them on top of this layer. So I'll create a group right below the woman, and I'll name this Rose Petals 1, and I'll paste it here, and you can see it's really big, so I'll have to make it smaller. So this is the most time-consuming part because I have to add them one by one. I'll put it there, and I'll go to image and choose auto tone because I want it to be a bit darker, but it's too much, so I'll probably go to edit, fade auto tone, and reduce a bit some of that. And if you take a look at the woman's shirt here, you will see that this part is darker and this one is brighter. So what I tried to do is add the darker parts of the petal, this one right here, to be, oops, let's lock the movement as well for this layer if I can do it, right here, and okay. I tried to add the part of the petal to match a bit the color of the shirt. So okay, and then copy this one as well. Just copy some random petals like that. Don't make them too big. Create them more or less to have all the same size. And let's try the auto tone thing. And you can see it's too dark, so I'll have to fade that. Edit. Looks like it's not available for some reason. I'll use levels. You can also use levels. I just want to make it a bit darker, like so. But if you do that, you'll have to also use hue saturation to decrease the saturation, the lightness, and everything. So with the auto tone is a bit quicker. So just add a few petals like that. Well, actually I have to add quite a lot. I'll open another image that I have, which is this one. And you can see we have a lot more here. So I'll do the same. Let's see if we have paths here. We don't. Select the background, create the layer mask, inverted, and then refine mask. Shift edge, increase feather, and increase contrast. I'm doing it quick because I already did it a few times, and I'll apply the layer mask. And now I'll copy some of this petals from here and put them on the other document. And you can see this group is under the woman layer, so they are behind her, so to say. Let's try the auto tone. Yeah, this one looks a bit better. I'll put it right there. So it's a bit time consuming, but well, need to be patient, and I don't know, take your time and edit auto tone. As I said, I will not do it all, the entire thing here. I just wanted to show you how I did it. Let's copy another one, maybe this one. Copy, paste here, and of course then you can duplicate a few of them, but try to move them to separate them. So if you have this one here, for example, I'll put it right here, and I want to duplicate it, I'll press Ctrl Command J. I'll put it here on, maybe on the bottom right here, and maybe I'll rotate it a few degrees, just because I don't want to have the same one, the same petal. Okay, let's duplicate a few more times. Flip maybe horizontal or vertical, so okay. And what I'll do now is just duplicate a few layers here, because as I said, I don't want to spend too much time here doing this. And as I said, with the hue saturation you can match more or less the color of the hair or the shirt, so I can change the hue a bit. Let's see, something like that, maybe a bit more lightness. Okay, see that now it matches a bit more the color of the hair there. And then you create, well, let me duplicate this a few more times, and okay, something like that. And the idea is to have a few petals here a bit more close to each other, and then a few one flying around here, and that's what I want to do now. So I will minimize this group and create another one, this time on top of the woman, layers, and I'll press Ctrl Command G and name Rose Petals 2. Well, I misspelled it, but I will not correct that. Okay, and then copy a few other ones from here. And this is the process that I followed. It's really easy. And just to put them on top of her, and on some of them you can add shadow, because you will see how it looks. Let me add the auto tone thing. For example, this one, I can add some drop shadow, add a bit of distance and a bit of size to it, and decrease maybe the opacity, and that will give a bit of dimension, but you need really low opacity. See that? And this will make the whole thing look a bit better, I think. And let's copy this one as well. Okay, this one I'll leave it flying here. I will suppose that there's some bit of wind going to the right, okay, and that's why I made them all falling that way, because also we have this thing here flying there, so if you put them flying on different sides, it will not look realistic. So what I will do now is just duplicate a few times. You can also change the size of them. And a really cool trick here, if you don't want to search the layers one by one, if you have them here, what you can do is press the V key to select the move tool. This is this one right here. And for example, if I want to select this one here and I don't know which layer is, or I don't want to go on the layers palette, what you can do is with the move tool selected, press and hold the control or command key on the keyboard and click on it. And you see how it selected the layer for that. Also, make sure you have unchecked, you have this set to layer instead of group, because if you set this to group, what it will do is it will select the group instead of selecting that particular layer. So set this to layer and press Control Command key and click on the object that you want, and it will select that layer. And then you press Control Command J to duplicate it, and you can then move it and do whatever you want. I'll put this one here, I'll duplicate this one as well, make it smaller. So working with keyboard shortcuts here is really helpful, and it really saves a lot of time. And that's why I always say try to get used to the keyboard shortcuts, because they will save you a lot of time. Let's go to this one. Actually, I'll copy another one from here, another petal. After that, what I did on some of them, not all of them, the ones that are on top of this stone here, so to say, I added drop shadow to some of them. For example, to this one. And as I said, if you want to select them, press and hold the control key on your keyboard, and with the move tool selected, if you click on the object, it will select the layer for it, and then double click here on the layer and choose drop shadow, and just add some drop shadow. Add a bit of distance and decrease the opacity, and for example to this one as well. And the less distance you add, the closer the object looks like it is to this. For example, this petal looks like it's a lot closer if I have 8 pixels of distance than if I have, like, for example, 69. Okay, so the more distance you add, the further away it looks. Okay, so for example, this one I'll leave it like that and decrease the opacity of the shadow. And well, actually I think you can add some shadow to all of them, but decrease the opacity a lot. Okay, and also with the size you control the blurriness of the shadow. See that? If you increase the size, becomes blurry. Okay, let's add a few more shadows here. Actually, you can copy the same effect. See that? If you just press and hold the Alt key and click on the effect icon, which is this FX, and drag it to another layer and let go. Okay, then the only thing you need to do is adjust a bit the distance and the size and opacity and everything. So it's not difficult, but I mean, it takes time, so that's why I said a lot of times with Photoshop you need patience. If you're not patient, you will leave things half done, and that's not right. If you do something, do it right, because you will not do it twice. So once you make, for example, an artwork, you will, I mean myself, I will not open it and re-edit it again. I never did it. So even sometimes people say that shadow is not correct, or the angle of that object is not correct. I never open it and re-edit it. Okay, let's add another shadow here. A bit less distance and a bit more of blur and a bit less opacity. And that's it. And then I also added a few petals here on the floor. But well, first let's deal with that layer mask, because as I said, you need to edit it. I will re-enable the shadow layer, but you can see the layer masks are not the same, so you need to have the same layer mask. So what I will do is copy this one on the bottom layer, and the way I will do it is hold the Alt key on the keyboard and click on the layer mask and drag it on top of the other layer mask, and it will ask me if I want to replace that, and I will choose yes, I want to replace it. And that way I have the same layer mask on both layers, but on the shadow layer I still need to edit it because you see those edges there. See that there because it's not correctly masked. So with a soft brush, I want to uncheck shape dynamics and just get rid of this part here, and that's it. As easy as that. Okay, now let's move on and add those petals there on the ground, and for that let me close this first. I used another stock image, which is this one. These petals are from DeviantArt. If you want to use them, looks like the color is a lot better than the other ones because these are darker. I'll give you the link to those on my website, you'll find it. And these ones are also from DeviantArt, but I use these ones, and I did exactly the same as before. Use the magic wand. Well, actually you can also use the color range. I think it will be a lot more accurate. Let's try that. So what you do is select the color, this red color with the color picker, and then press the shift key. You can see here on the preview, to select another tone of red, press the shift key and you can see that plus appearing under the color eyedropper. Okay, and I want to include these tones of red, and then just play with the range and with the fuzziness and add more tones. See that it will select those, but I think let's go on the channels. Yeah, on the channels it's a lot easier. See that? Select the blue channel, drag it there to create a copy of it, and then press Ctrl Command L to open the levels, and the left slider, which is the shadows, you move this a bit to the left, to the right, sorry, and this one, which are the highlights, move it a bit to the left, and the midtones, well, let's leave the midtones there. And now once you have this, press the Control key and click on the thumbnail of the channel of the blue copy. Go back to the layers tab, and you can see we have the selection here, and now click on the layer mask icon, and it will mask that. And we still need to edit this a bit because you can see these parts here are transparent. That's not what we want, so I'll use the brush to just paint with white and bring that back, and do that on all of them. The edges are maybe not spectacular. You can see we have some semi-transparent areas. We'll see how that looks in a second. And we also have the shadows here, which I don't really like, but we'll see how that looks. So I'll get the lasso tool, copy this one for example. Well, first I have to apply the layer mask. Control Command C, go back to my document, and this time I'll paste this on top of everything. So press Control Command V, and then Control Command G to create another group, and I'll name this ground petals. Oh, sorry. Okay, and now make this smaller, like that, and oh, it doesn't look bad. That shadow there is a bit too red, so I don't know. Maybe you should mask it, it will look a lot better, so I'll try to do that here. Well, actually, I'll leave it like it is. You should try and mask this or use an eraser to get rid of this shadow here, because I don't like it. You can paint it manually after you add it on the other document. It's really easy with just a simple brush, with a soft brush, and paint with black. You can do it. Okay, so we have one there, then we paste another one, make it a lot smaller, more or less the same size as the other one. I will put it there, and then just duplicate it and make it a bit smaller and put it there. And let's copy yet another one, and that's it. You can put as many as you want. I will not spend more time with this because The tutorial is getting too long. Okay. Put it there, well, a bit smaller. And let me show how I created the shadow for this petals. Here is really easy. All you need to do is create a new layer on below all of them. On this ground petals layer, I created a new layer below, and I'll name it shadows. Get the brush tool, use about 40 and 50 for the opacity and flow, and just with a soft brush paint a dot like that. Well, actually use a small brush and just paint a shadow like that. It's not a big deal, just need a bit of patience, and that's it. Oops, that's too bad. I would decrease the opacity and the flow a bit more to about 30 and 20. Okay, well, let's add it to 20 and 20. See, that shadow make them look a bit more realistic, I think. Okay, great. Now we have the petals and everything here. We need to add some effects now, and the first thing I want to do is add the light effect on the background. So what I will do is go down here, and I think I have the file saved here. Well, I don't. I will go to the other document. Actually, I use the plugin to create the sun set there. So what I will do is open the other one and copy it from there. Okay. I'll try to convert it into a smart object, because now I can double click on it to open it here. Okay, this is an image that I created with the plugin, and I will give you this image. I don't want to spend time doing it again, so I'll copy it here like that. Well, I'll put it below the background layer like so, and I'll change the blend mode of this to screen, because I want to get rid of the black background. Set this to screen like that, and hide it right here below this. And this is how I created the sun there, the sunlight. But now we need to make a few other effects. The first one here on this stone. So what you can do is select the BG layer, which is the background, double click on it, and you can add some inner glow or inner shadow. I prefer to use inner shadow. I'll uncheck the global light, because I want to have a straight angle of 90 degrees. Change the color here to a really bright yellow or orange, we'll see that, and change the blend mode of this to color dodge, and that way we have this line of highlight there. But I think inner glow will look a lot better. Let's try it. And increase the size a bit, not too much. Let's try with 40 pixels or 20, and then decrease the range a bit. I want to change the color. Well, actually, I first have to change the blend mode, and maybe a bit more of saturation. Yeah, I think I like it a lot better. And the problem that we have with this, let me show you how it looks at 100%. Have this light here, which is, well, supposed to be the backlight from the sun. But the problem we have with the inner glow is that you can see we also have the effect here on these edges. And the way you fix that is, well, one way to do it, if you want to use layer styles. On the original I painted it by hand, but I like how the layer style works. So the way you fix that is select the background layer and right click on the effects link icon here and choose create layer. And what that does is it turns that effect into its own layer, keeping the same blend mode and everything, and color. I'll probably increase the opacity, this fill to 100%. And the reason why I did that is because now I can create a layer mask, get the brush tool, and set the opacity and flow to 100%, and paint with black and hide this effect Okay, so that's why I created this on its own layer, because on layer styles you cannot create masks. Well, there's an option to make layer masks, something like, I don't know what exactly that thing does, but I like to work with this on its own layer. Okay, so that's how I got rid of that effect there. And I did the same for the sword here. So select the sword, double click, and choose. This time I'll choose inner shadow because I want the light to come only on from this side. I think it looks a bit better. Change the color, change the blend mode to color dodge, and maybe use another color, this one, and I don't know, decrease the size a bit, and maybe the distance to 4 or something like that. Okay, have this highlight now on the sword, and you can do the same for this thing here. I will not do it. And also on the woman, let's see how that looks. I will select the woman layer, add inner shadow, but here it will be a bit trickier because we will also have some light here. Maybe we'll see. I don't want to choose. I should have unchecked the global light, but anyways, let's leave it how it is. Change the color to the same kind of orange. Color dodge, and well, it's not looking that bad, but we have the color here, which is not what I want. So I don't know. Probably I'll do the same thing as I did, which is turn this into its own layer. Create layers, create a layer mask for it, and let's see if I can paint on it or something. Well, actually not there. On this layer, I created a vector mask for the bottom layer with the brush tool. Paint with black to get rid of this effect here. Okay, something like that. I'll leave this one how it is because I like how that looks. Okay, so that's all that I did to this, and now comes the final effects to give the final look on this image. So in order to make the final adjustments, I created a group because I wanted to have all the adjustments on a single group. So the first one was a gradient map. So I used a default gradient map. That's reset gradients. Actually, I'll append them. And I used this one, the purple to orange. Click OK. I set the blend mode of this to soft light. Let's try soft light. And this was because I wanted to have a bit more contrast, and also because I liked this color tones, but you can see it's too strong, the effect. So I set the opacity of this layer to 20%. Then I added a selective color adjustment. Selective color, where are you? Right here, I know, on the bottom. Okay, and here what you do with this adjustment, I already have a tutorial where I explain how this works. What you do is you have a set of colors here, and I think I only changed the red, the yellows, and the greens, and maybe a bit the blues and cyans because are the colors that we have here on the sky. What you do with this is change the balance of this. So for example, on the reds, which are this parts of the image, you have 4 sliders here, which are the color balance, and then you have the brightness. Well, the first one, which is cyan, if you set negative values on it, what you do is add red. And if you put positive values, you add cyan. That's why this becomes a bit darker, because you add more cyan on the reds. Then on the magentas, you have on this side, on the left side, we have greens, because green is the opposite of magenta, and on the right side we have magenta. So I'm on the red colors. If I want to add more magenta on the reds, I can slide this to the right, and you can see how it becomes more red, and also parts here on the ground. And if we slide this to the left, you can see how it becomes green. But it only affects the reds because I have the reds selected. So I think I will leave it like that. If you have on the yellow, for example, if you have positive values, so the name that you have here, if you put this on positive, you add this color. And if you set negative values, you put the opposite of the color that says here. In this case, the opposite of yellow is blue. That's why blue mixed with red gives you this sort of purple color, this magenta looking thing, okay? So, but what I wanted to edit here is the brightness, because with the blacks what you do is add, change the brightness. If you put positive values, it becomes darker because you add blacks, and if you put negative values, you take away black from this color, in this case the reds, because I'm only on the reds now, okay? So I think I will have it like that, and maybe a bit more like that, and maybe a bit more magenta, I don't know, and something like that. Okay, then I'll go to the yellows, and these are all the tones here on the sky, I mean this light here and some parts of the ground. And I think I had this on red, because if you take away cyan you add red, a bit of magenta, and maybe more yellow because I want to have more of a warm effect, and add a bit more of black. These are not the values that I have on the original. I have them there, I can look at them, but I don't want to give you the exact values because I want you to understand what you do with this rather than just copy the same ones. The greens, well, we have this part of the greens here, but well, it's not affecting it too much. Yeah, I want to add more black to have more contrast, and more green, and a bit more cyan. And on the cyan on the blue, and blue are this part of the sky, as I said. You can see how if you set the cyans to -100, it starts to become a bit red because we add red, and if you put it at 100%, it becomes more blue. And you can see a lot better here on the magentas. If I add more magenta, it becomes more blue than cyan, and if you add more, if you put negative values on the magenta, it becomes green because we add green if you take magenta. Oh, maybe it's a bit tricky to understand, but that's how this adjustment works. And I can see something here on the light. I have to add a bit higher up, okay, because I could see the edge there. And let's go back to this adjustment. And let's go on the blues and try see what we can do here. Not much. I'll show you the before and after to see how this looks. And the good thing about this adjustment is that you also have the white, neutral, and black. So for example, if I select the blacks, I can add, for example, some blue on the blacks, see that? But it's not what I want to do here, so I don't want to touch this too much. And the neutrals are the gray colors on the image, so it's almost like the color balance, but a bit more powerful, so to say. Okay, let me show the before and after, with and without the selective color. Okay, let's move on and add another adjustment, which is another gradient map. And this time I used a set of gradients that come with Photoshop CS6. So if you don't have Photoshop CS6, you'll have to add similar colors. So what I will do is choose photographic toning and click OK. Are the ones here, and I chose this one. I think it's called blue, sepia blue 2. This one. Click OK, and I set the blend mode to vivid light, and I decreased the opacity to 14%. Okay, we got more contrast. Even too much, I'll decrease it even more. So you can see that the original opacity level that I had, which was 40%, was too much. So maybe I'll decrease the opacity of the selective color, because the selective color darkened a bit the image, especially the sky. Okay, so I'll leave it on 9%. And then I created a levels adjustment because it was too dark. And I increased the midtones a bit to add a bit more light on the image to about 1.15. But again, this settings here only work. Well, they depend on how you got the image, because maybe you need to add a bit more or a bit less of light depending on what you did with the other layers. And then I added a vibrance adjustment. Let's see, where's the vibrance? Right here. And I set the vibrance to 34, and then the saturation to -18. Okay. And of course, I want to have the opacity at 100%. Well, it's too desaturated, so I'll probably increase a bit the vibrance. I want to have a saturated image, okay? And then, well, actually I made this, I'll select all of them and press Ctrl-Command-G to create the group, and I'll name this Final Adjustments. And I'll deactivate it for a second because I want to create a stamp and add some light effects here. So I will select the topmost layer because I deactivated this group, and I'll press Shift, Control, Alt, and E to create a stamp, and I'll turn this into a smart object. If you cannot use the keyboard shortcuts, what you can do is select the entire canvas with Ctrl-Command-A, or go to Select and choose All, and then go to Edit and choose Copy Merged, and then press Ctrl-Command-V to paste that, and you'll get exactly the same result here. Okay, so once I have this smart object here, I will go to Filter, choose Render and Lighting Effects, and this is the light effect that I used. A simple spotlight like this, but it's too strong, the light, so I'll have to decrease a bit the exposure. I'll decrease the exposure a bit, like that, and I'll probably also decrease the hotspot. Well, I'll leave it like that, but I'll probably have to make the light itself a bit smaller, not too much. Like that. Let's see if I can see the before and after. Yeah, I have a bit more light here, like so, and maybe increase the exposure like that. Okay, I'll leave it like that. I'll click OK, and I'll wait for the filter to apply. Well, you can see it's a lot slower now because the image is really big. It's 5,000 pixels, almost 6,000 pixels in width. So it takes a bit longer for the filters to apply. And now I'll also use the other filter that I use, which is the topaz detail. I use this filter quite a lot on my manipulations lately. It's just to add a bit more. You can also use the sharpen filter, the unsharp mask filter, but I like this one, I don't know. Because you can increase the detail here, which is, I'll do something really extreme, so you can, well, actually I'll choose this sample here. So see that? It's almost like creating an HDR effect. Okay, so this is the preset that I use most of the time, interior strong detail, and then I decrease the settings here because it's too strong. I don't want such a strong effect. Okay, see that? And then I also change a bit. Let me reduce the zoom level. I also use these settings here for the tone, the cyan, magenta, and the yellow, to kind of change a bit the look of this. See that? See how it changes? And in Photoshop, I don't know how you can do this. I'm sure there must be a way to do the same effect that you can make with this. I'll have to investigate a bit. I prefer this because I have more light here and more darkness here. And let's see the contrast. I think it's okay. Decrease the contrast and maybe increase a bit the lightness. Yeah, I like how that looks. And maybe increase a bit the saturation, not too much, and decrease the saturation boost. Yeah, that's too much. Okay, I'll leave it like that and click OK. And then I'll reactivate that group with the final adjustments, and hopefully it will look Okay. Okay, so this is the effect that we got. Let me show you a bit how it looks after applying these two filters, before and after applying the lighting effect and the topaz detail. The topaz detail really brings all this detail out on the image. It's really good. That's why I really like it so much. So I'll re-enable this and voila, here you have it. These are with the final adjustments on it. Okay, let me show you what we got before creating the final adjustments and the presets, before and after. So final adjustments and filters and what you do after you finish a manipulation really make the image change a lot. So that's why I have sort of a different part for at the end of the tutorial, which is called final adjustments. Okay, see that? Before and after. So, well, it was a really long tutorial. I'm sorry if it was too long, but, well, it took me like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to make this image, and compressing it into 1 hour, it's really difficult. So I went really quick, and I hope you could follow me. If you have any questions, just post them on YouTube or on my website, and I'll try to answer if I can. I get a lot of comments, emails, and a lot of stuff, and I can't keep track of everything, but I'll try my best. So, well, I hope you liked it. Again, I'm Andrei from PSD Box. Thank you for watching, and see you on my next tutorial.